Everyone, June 27th, about 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is the 4-hour chart of Bitcoin, BTC, USD on the Bitfinex exchange. So the video is not investment advice, but what I do want to talk about is that it definitely looks like we're setting up for yet another bear flag. The question is, how long do we stay within this flag before falling out yet once again? Now, let me just say that there are some things that could negate that. If we do spike up and shoot through about 64.24, which is the prior bottom of that 6,400 bottom before we had the wild and crazy bar and artificial run created, then things could obviously change at that point. But if not, we're going to generate just a normal bear flag, something like this. We're going to flop over and continue lower, taking out this low right here. That's why I have these green lines marked out. We can already see we're in the third iteration of this. The drops are getting smaller, so that's not bad, but it definitely looks like there's going to be further downside in the near future. Now, what I think we're doing is just trying to find the natural bottom for Bitcoin, wherever that may be. And I think what really prolonged that is the clear manipulation in price here that created the artificial run from 6,000 to about 11,700. That allowed big money to escape. That's why it ended up toppling back over, because they're siphoning their money out, exchanging it to bag holders, and those bag holders are left, falling down and basically panicking and selling lower, and then they'll create another artificial run, blah, blah, blah. And we've just seen this multiple times, the same iteration, the same pattern over and over and over again in Bitcoin. And you can see just the runs are getting smaller and smaller. I know I talk about this in the other videos, but you can just see it. The moves are getting smaller and smaller and smaller to the upside, yet we're progressing lower. We've broke down to a new low in 2018. That's never a good sign. I think it's a very small probability we reverse course and start to head up to 20,000. Now, I do think that this bear flag is going to try to lure early longs in who want to call the bottom, who want to believe those crazy videos that like people projecting like 2 million Bitcoin by the end of 2020 or whatever the crazy things are out there nowadays. And it's going to do so, and those longs, those new bag holders, are going to create the panic necessary for price to go lower. So that's what happens. It's like this ebb and flow of attracting individuals, smaller investors, to become bag holders for big money as they drop them down to create new lows, or as they artificially inflate price and they chase price, bringing it to new highs. They can dump out at the high and then just watch it collapse and tumble over time and time again. And that's exactly what we're seeing in Bitcoin, just on a bigger scale. So while I still think we're probably going to beat around somewhere in this area, probably try to break above 64.25 if we can muster up the strength necessary to do so. It's kind of hard to say that, given that we came all the way down into the low 3 billion range, popped up into the 5.7 billion, and then it literally immediately it just all vanished. It was really weird. I don't know if it was some massive reporting error or what happened there, but that volume has not returned. We have been trading about negative 2.5 billion in 24-hour transactions after that. After this spike up right here, that was obviously a clear intervention just to try to stop and stabilize price yet once again. And that's exactly what I think these bear flags are, is just the artificial creations of bottoms to just hold price and stop it from just waterfalling downward to who knows what level, because the panic that would ensue from that would definitely bring Bitcoin to levels that I don't think anybody could even expect at this moment. But there's clear intervention going on in Bitcoin. Manipulation, whatever you want to call it, it's clear. It is. It's just the nature of this beast. If you're going to trade this market, you better understand this market is highly manipulated. You can see repeated patterns, and if that doesn't show you enough proof, then I don't know what would. Maybe the aliens will come down and show you proof. But it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, there's still money to be made, whether you're going to play from the long side or the short side. Now, the short side, I think, definitely has more opportunities in this market than the longs do, based on what's happening in this market. Now, the bear flag will probably beat around in this area, and then I imagine that on some crazy crackhead's going to pop on mainstream media and talk about Bitcoin going to 7 trillion. It's going to lure in the money, and then boom, they're going to slaughter them yet once again. And from there, I do think we'll break below the low on this bottom right here at about 57.55 on Bitfinex. Each exchange is somewhere around there. So I do not think this is the bottom for Bitcoin at the moment. We just broke to a new fresh low. I can't recall any market that I've ever seen break to a new fresh low and then just magically turn around. And that's what I said in the beginning of this video. Unless there's some magical like influx of like volume and a crazy bar on top of that, I don't see us necessarily turning this ship around quite yet. I think we definitely have more downside, and what will more than likely happen is we'll kind of fizzle somewhere in this area, whether it's the low fives or whether we start to break below 5, I don't know. But the point is that I think we're going to fizzle out somewhere and then form a nice basing pattern, and from that base, I think Bitcoin is going to try to find its energy necessary to start to break back upward, create a bull market, and try to break out higher than the 9,990 mark, the 11,700 and 20,000 mark. But this is something that's going to be in the distant future, right? We're starting to enter in July here. I don't even think we'll see that come the end of this year. I think we're going to flop around unless there's some blatant manipulation again, like this $1,200 bar, like the intervention we had at 6,000. Given that there's none of that, this market is going to kind of fizzle out, go more horizontal, maybe at a slight decline, right? The moves up are going to get smaller and smaller along the way, but it's going to allow us to build that base structure necessary to give us the energy to progress upward. And I've said this in a lot of my videos too. I don't think people are really accounting for the time element here. And if you're not, it's going to beat a lot of people out. It will be the killer for, I want to say, like 90% of the retail traders. The time factor is going to kill them because no one is anticipating the time it's required for price to build up the energy necessary to start to break higher and eventually eclipse this 20,000 high. It took the NASDAQ over 15 years to jump over the dot-com bubble, right? It's not saying it's going to take 15 years for Bitcoin, but people need to understand there's a time element here that very, very, very few people are going to be willing to factor in nor even listen to. So we see the bubble top, right? We see the drops. We see how everything's getting smaller, like I marked out earlier, smaller, smaller, smaller. We're moving more horizontally. You can kind of see this as we move to this horizontal plane, and as we do that, it's going to require time, and there's going to also be an increase in volatility, whipping back and forth, more than likely in smaller and smaller increments, and it's just going to piss a lot of people off, and I think that's exactly what's going to happen in this market. Now, I don't think the market's going to go anywhere, and I think that they're going to do whatever they can do to make sure that price stabilizes somewhere, and they're going to probably manufacture little runs, and those runs will come either late at night Eastern Standard Time or early morning Eastern Standard Time, like we've seen on the past prior manipulation patterns, because there's so low liquidity in the market. It's very easy to move price around. And when a large portion of your base is still sleeping, once they wake up, they'll go into frenzy mode, go crazy, jump in the market, and that also adds to the run, exacerbates the manipulated run that we've seen in the past, right? So I think it's to the best interest of the exchanges and to anyone that has a gigantic financial stake in Bitcoin and the cryptocurrencies to keep the manipulation alive. And I highly doubt we're going to see an end to it as long as this market is here. It is what it is, right? Like I said earlier. So that's just me kind of going on about everything real quick. That's the first target. It's about 64.24. I want to see how price reacts there. If we fail to get there and we start to flop back over, I do think we'll break below about 57.75. And if we start to progress lower than that, we're probably going to see the low fives. So that's it for tonight. If everybody likes the videos and the content, please like, comment, subscribe, follow. I do thank you for your time. I thank you for your support. If you've not joined the Slack channel, it's free to do so. You can go to my site, geometriccharts.com. At the bottom, I have the link to my Slack channel as well as my social media accounts. And you can just click right on the link, go right into the Slack channel. There's over like 350 people from all across the globe, and it's everybody's really friendly. It's just really, really nice, friendly community. So that's it for tonight. I'll produce another video tomorrow, and I hope everybody has a great day or a great night.